Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. Today we're flying out the Frogfoot on Contention's Cold War server, just because it's some nice easy flying. It's one of my favourite modules in the game. It's an absolute goat, and it can do a little bit of everything. Why am I flying the Frogfoot then? Well, it's because I've decided to give VR another go. If you've watched other videos in the past, then you'll know that I kind of said I wasn't going to bother doing any more VR content, at least not gameplay, because I just don't think that you can represent the experience very well when you're just watching a YouTube video back. You know, like you lose the 3D effects and all that kind of thing. It just makes it seem a bit pointless. But there was recently an update to Pimax Plug which lets you change some more graphic settings, so you can now fiddle around with the quad views from within Pimax Plug, which means that you no longer need the quad views companions app. And you can also turn on a GPU upscaling, so NIS or FSR techniques can now be turned on. I'm using NIS set to quality right now, and online I'm getting about 50 to 60 FPS basically all the time, but I've locked it to 45 just in case there's spikes and dips, just to keep it from stuttering. But offline I get like 80 to 90 FPS, so it's actually in a really good place right now, and for whatever reason those changes have made the screen mirror recording actually look a lot better. Now the other thing I'm going to do is just record the entire sortie through the replay track from within the cockpit. The replay actually does retain my head movement. How I turn, how I look around is exactly as it was when I was in VR, but you get the benefit of the higher graphical fidelity and the clarity of not having to record the screen mirror. And it's a much truer representation of what I could see through the headset in terms of like crisp edges and the ability to ID targets and such. The only downside really is that for me it takes way longer to do this. Zoom isn't retained, so the VR zoom and the 2D zoom are different, so you don't get any zoom in the replay track if it's from a 3D recording. And the field of view is so much wider in VR, it's like 130 degrees, that when I set the 2D recording to 90 to stop it from looking warped, it means that during dogfights and stuff there are times when people actually go off the screen, but I would have still been able to see them at the time. Anyway, let's actually get some action, shall we? Okay, so in this sortie I did end up actually getting 9 ground kills with a combination of these bombs that are about to drop and the laser guided missiles. But I did have a bit of an issue, which is that there's an F5 coming in to try and murder me, who is very, very close, so I was really rushing to get rid of all my ordnance. And then the other thing is that obviously there's no zoom in the replay track, so watching me hit ground units that were literally like pixels on the screen seemed a bit pointless. So I just edited that part of the video out. So here we are merging with the F5. Bearing in mind that I was in VR through this, I could see this guy absolutely no problem at all. I think I actually saw him before he saw me. But because I have very little in the way of muscle memory for VR, and it's so bizarre going from 2D with no stick feel to VR with stick feel, that I got so disorientated through this merge. I knew I was going nose high and I knew I was slow, but you get torn between like the need to retain visual and, you know, like if I had gone down again and given him my 6, I know that would have been better in terms of energy management, but I don't trust myself to have been able to keep eyes on him. So I try and, you know, stave off diving for as long as possible, but I just end up making the situation worse, and he ends up right behind me. Now on the upside, the Frogfoot gets about 11 bajillion flares, and in this iteration of the Cold War server people only have AIM-9Bs, so the risk of being killed by a missile, especially flying the Frogfoot, is very, 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 very low. And the Frogfoot can outrate the F5 for days. So I basically just get my speed back up and then just keep pulling in circles. At this point, I know he's behind me somewhere, but I'm really struggling to actually see him. I can see bullets whizzing past me every once in a while, but a lot of people that aren't like hardcore F5 ride or diers like me, the guns are actually really difficult to use, and they don't hit very hard unless you get a concentrated burst. So I am panicking low key a little bit, but I know that if I just keep this turn going, there'll be a point where I can actually see him behind me, and I am now getting to that stage where I know where he is, I know what I'm doing. and I can just pull around, and he is only just barely visible on the top of the screen right now, and he just became a dad. He didn't pull out. He he crashed into the ground. I got him so slow that he just basically killed himself. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. I will take it to the bank. At this point, I'm out of ordnance. I've only got my wingtip R3Ss left when we're just going to go back to base for a rearm. The transit back to base is uneventful. Touchdown is uneventful. But then as we brake to a stop, the EWR reports tell me that there's a Viggen coming in 8 miles away, and this is a frontline airbase, so I'm unsure at this stage whether it still has any air defences or not. And there's a very real risk that if there isn't any, he will basically just kill me on the ground. So I'm torn right now. I could like close the canopy and full throttle it, but he's coming from like my back right, so if I do set off and I take off, then he'll be able to just kill me with a missile extremely easily, if he has any, I don't know. But he's closing in so fast that I'm probably better off on the ground and just hoping that he doesn't see me and gets distracted by looking for air defences and stuff, because I know that's what I would be doing if I was running into an airbase. As it happens, he doesn't see me, or he doesn't attack me at least. He merges overhead. And I didn't see any missile launches, but there is gunfire going off, so if he isn't killed by the AA, he could crater our runway or kill me on the ground. So whilst he's, you know, doing his Viggen stuff and turning around, I think I've still got fuel. I've actually got a very small amount of fuel, which is good for dogfight performance, and I've still got my wingtip air-to-air missiles. And I'm still reeling at the annoyance of that F5 that not only did he crash and deny me the kill, but he also reslotted to like hide his shame. So I didn't even get to see who it was in the kill feed because they just left the plane so quickly, which, you know, fair enough, I've probably done the same to be fair. But I'm fueled by the rage of that and I just want to get some air kills now. So we take off. It says he's hot right now, he's somewhere off to my like 10, 11 o'clock. And I'm just trying to get eyes on him. One of the things that's actually kind of annoying about flying the Frogfoot with force feedback is that anyone that flies this thing a lot will know that when you get above a certain speed, it just rattles, like it violently rattles. And in force feedback, that rattle is literally mirrored in the stick, so I feel like it's sort of slowly giving me Parkinson's disease. Skipping ahead about a minute, the Viggen briefly ran away to try and disengage in the mountains, and then he turns back in, but I realise at this point that there's at least 3 or 4 other aircraft here, and in VR I was able to zoom in and actually ID what all these things are, but in the replay it's a bit lacking, so I'm actually going to sort of flip-flop between the VR and the track replay, just to try and give you a better idea of what's going on. We merge with the rearmost F5, I think there's 2 F5s, a Viggen, and then some sort of friendly. The friendly ends up dying down here in a second, which actually helps me like figure out where the rest of them are. And we follow the F5 that was at the back of the pack through. Now there's a Viggen that's peeling off to the right, and there's 2 F5s peeling off to the left. I decided to prioritise the one that's going up, because if I go up too, it's going to help my energy, and the other one was just flat turning from a low speed, so I can probably reacquire, which I have done, and then pull around on this guy and just kind of abuse him in his low energy state. But I'm kind of worried about where that other Viggen got to. So at this point I'm just anchoring my rate again, and I know that if I keep this up, the F5s will just lose. The smart play from an F5 in this sort of situation is to just extend and be watching that 6 to flare off any missiles that might get launched at them. The R3Ss are pretty easy to dodge. You can just, you know, drop a bucket load of flares and just pull a little bit of AOA and they usually miss. But this guy's actually trying to rate with me, and he's so low, he's probably going slower than I am. And it's literally just a matter of time. He's so low to the ground he has no opportunity to dive for more energy, so he does finally at this point get the memo about extending for energy, but he left it way too late. So we just spool up an R3S, and that's all she wrote. So at this point we're still quite close to Al Nasraya. That thing in the cons up there is a B-52 at 35k, so there's no way I'm going to be doing anything about that. And the Viggen at the minute is actually 15 miles away. I'm not sure why I extended that much, so we're not going to encounter him for a little bit. So in the meantime, I just want to remind you that Pimax have an upgrade event running until the end of the year. If you have an existing VR headset, they will give you a discount for a Pimax Crystal Light if you can prove proof of purchase to them. So like, let's say you've got a Meta Quest 3. If you can show them the receipt, then you'll get money off a Pimax Crystal Light. And this does not mean that you have to give them your existing headset. You get to keep that as well. And they literally just make your Pimax Crystal Light costless. So if you're really after one and you've already got a VR headset, then check out the upgrade link in the description. Really great idea might be to get your discount and then sell your existing headset, and then you quit it. You could probably knock more than half the price off a Pimax Crystal Light. So you might notice that I decided to go for a landing, and that's because that Viggen was running cold for ages, but then he quite unceremoniously decides to reappear as I'm about to drop my gear, so I'm very slow. My fuel is now sub 200 kilos, so it's extremely low. And that's when he makes a run in on me. And I'm not sure if he intended to kill me there. I didn't think he was trying very hard, but he does start to manoeuvre around with me. I think he's reluctant to climb in case there's a SAM threat that he's unaware of. Obviously I know that there isn't a SAM threat. But he did get peppered up a bit by the AAA on his way past. Him staying low means that I was able to sort of get behind him, but the Viggen is extremely fast. I mean, pretty much everything's fast compared to a frog foot, but he manages to extend away. But then he just keeps rolling back towards me. I think he realises that I just can't really catch him. But he makes the mistake of not actually paying attention to me, and forgetting that a slow thing can catch a fast thing if they set up intercept course routes properly. So I keep my energy high by using the vertical so that I can dive back down whenever he turns back into me. And he just keeps making repeated run-ins. He turns around, he comes back in, and he's just running circuits. And he goes right past me like 3 times. I honestly, I don't know if he even knew that I was here. Obviously I missed time at my turns, but because I'm able to use the dive through them, and at this point I wonder if he actually was aware of me and he decided to try and turn with me, but then it looks like he's lost so much speed. Maybe he compressor stalled. The Viggen is one of the modules I don't own, so I'm really not sure what its engine management is like, but he just feeds himself to me. And, you know, I'm not complaining, because if that had gone on much longer, I think I'd have run out of fuel and it would have been quite an unfortunate end to an otherwise good sortie. But this has been one of extremely few times that I've been flying with the AB9 where I've actually managed to land at the end, because it's so fun and satisfying that I keep getting carried away with the fighting and the flying and just the feel of it all, that I just forget about fuel and I end up getting caught up in a merge too far from base. It takes me too long to finish them off, and then I end up running out of fuel before I get back there. But this was not one such time. So VR is back on the menu. I'm very much enjoying the new Pimax Plug update. The AB9 has been probably the best purchase that I've ever made for flight simming. The only other thing I'd say that compares is some kind of head tracking, whether it be, you know, head track AR or VR. The ability to look around more easily comes first, but then this definitely comes second. And I'd say it's almost tied. If head tracking wasn't so essential, then I think what you gain from force feedback is actually maybe better. But anyway, if you enjoyed that video, folks, then be sure to leave me a like, leave me a comment, check out the links in the description, check out the product links for Pimax VR air models, and also if you are thinking about picking up a VR headset and you need glasses or contact lenses, check out the VR Rock link, because that's a VR prescription lens insert company. They use little magnetic connectors so you can just pop them on and off. It's very intuitive and clever. I'm probably going to do a short video going over it at some point. But anyway, check out the links. You can also become a member if you feel like it. One more and we'll actually be on 40, which would be absolutely amazing. But don't feel like I'm pressuring you into everything. Yeah. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.